after the end. When we think of worship, we tend to think of a box filled with contents that can only be used by those who are rhythmically inclined. But I always wondered, doesn't that contradict who God is? The one who isn't confined to one place or another, the one who makes impossibilities possible. When I think of worship, I think radical, I think crazy, I think transformational, I think jaw-dropping, I think attention-grabbing, I think confusing to some, but who cares because they don't know what God did for me. When I think of worship, I think beyond a fixed time during church service, because there will never be enough time to give glory and thanks that is adequate to match the actions of our God that spared us from more than 1,000 deaths that we should have suffered, that we should be suffering and should continue to suffer, yet here we are breathing. But that is not what amazes me the most. What amazes me the most is that like Adam, like everyone, God, you created me to glorify you, even though you knew it may be a long time before I did, if I even did at all. You knew, even when I responded to your call to live for you, to glorify you, that I would still betray you, still sin against you, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but all the time. If not with my words, then with my thoughts. If not with my thoughts, then with my heart. Yet still, you look at me and call me righteous. You look at me and see your child. You see Jesus. I can't speak for anyone else. But God, I swear, if I were in your shoes, fire would be raining down from the sky by now. This fact alone brings me to worship because that is not your way. You are not like man that you would lie or change your mind. You would not act on emotional impulses. Your love and mercy are bigger than my sin-filled addictions. You would part Red Seas for me. You would move every Mount Everest there ever was if it ever came in between me and you. But if I'm being honest, God, sometimes this is not enough for me when I know it should be. Sometimes, instead of seeking you, I demean you. I wonder, why won't you alleviate me of this pain? Why don't I hear you? Why don't I feel you? Why don't I see you? Why won't you stop this madness? Do you even care? Are you even there? But God, you are so perfect that instead of getting mad, you respond back with love and comfort and joy. God, you say to me, I know it's unfair, but don't you blame me for the choices that others have made that are not of me. My child, what you are feeling is merely a fraction of what I endure every second since I created man from the dust. Those are the same questions that I ask all of you every day. Why don't I hear your praise? Why don't I feel your love? Why don't I see you? Why are you hiding from me? What have you done? Why won't you stop this madness? Haven't I given you everything? I stretched out on a cross for you. I gave my life up for you. See, Christians, we were slaves to sin once, but now instead we are fugitives turned free men and women that have escaped from the captivity of Satan. See, Jesus is our Harriet Tubman, but he doesn't just hold the lantern. He is the lantern that led us to grace, and his crucifixion is the underground railroad that smuggled us to grace. His crucifixion is the underground railroad that smuggled us to grace. This is why our worship should not be confined to a box or be done through a filter, because there was nothing filtered about the whips on the back of Jesus. There was nothing filtered about the thorns on his head or the wound on his side. There was nothing filtered about his death. There was nothing confined about the blood that now covers all who believe in him today. I think we have confused who our worship is for. It is for the God of all creation, the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and end, the Word become flesh, the one who should have given us death, but instead gives us life. And if you still don't get it yet, hear me clearly when I say this. Your worship has nothing to do with you or how you feel, and everything to do with the fact that despite the lust and pride inside our hearts or our failure to deny our flesh, God still saw fit not only to wake you up, not only to fill you with his spirit, not only to meet your every need, but to promise you all this and more, and promise never to go back on his word. The fact that we even have the capacity to give godly wisdom and preach the gospel is a miracle in itself. It is a reminder of why every day we must wake up and say, thank you, Lord, because somehow the same mouths that speak of sinfulness can also speak of holiness. Now here we are, wanted by death, meant to be in the grave, yet still we are breathing the same breath that God breathed into Adam, his breath, the breath of God. So now From this day forward, let us worship a radical worship, an unrestricted worship, an illogical worship, an unbound, unrelenting, unstoppable, unfathomable, inconceivable, excruciating, boisterous, and devoted worship, a worship with no end, even after the end.